Hip hip hooray. Happy weekend everyone, what a lovely day. Yay. Today, TehShy, will recap Season 2, Ascendance of a Bookworm anime. We have just 9 days left, till the premiere of Season 3, yay. I am so excited. Let's start with the recap. Season 2 starts with, Episode 15, Apprentice Priestess. Mine is greeted by Lutz at the Gilberta company. He is now working as an apprentice and is being trained by Mark. Mine updates Benno on the outcome of the temple negotiations, between her family, and the high priest. We find out that Karina is pregnant, and Otto will be working full-time, at the Gilberta company. Mine, Effa, and Tuli shows Karina, the dress and hair ornament Mine wore during her baptism. Benno buys exclusive rights to sell Mine's hair ornaments. We see glimpse of Justo's, Ferdinand's aide, who was tasked to investigate Mine. Benno attends the pound tasting hosted by Frida. There he starts to plan another business with Mine, who also gets excited at the prospect and thinks of an Italian restaurant. On Mine's first day as a blue robe apprentice priestess, the high priest gives her blue robes. He informs her of her duties, and introduces her to her retainers. Prior to Mine's appointment, the head priest reports his findings to the high bishop. The head priest informs him that he will assign one of his retainers to Mine to keep an eye on her. The high bishop then states he will send one of his retainers as well, and tells the high priest to give Mine their worst problematic gray-robed priest. Hence Mine is introduced to Fran, Delia and Gil, her retainers. Episode 16. Blue Robes and Uncommon Sense. The episode starts with the high priest informing Mine of her duties as a blue-robed apprentice priestess, which includes working as his assistant helping with paperwork, mana and monetary donations to the temple, reading and memorizing temple holy scriptures. Mine is accompanied by her retainers to the library. Mine was in 7th heaven upon entering the library. She was given a book and starts reading happily. Mine loses track of time, and her mana manifest when her reading was interrupted by Gil, causing her retainers to back off. Mine meets with Lutz at the temple gates and goes to see Benno. At Benno's, Mine gets a scolding for leaving the temple wearing her blue robes. Mine sees how hard Lutz is working and realizes her shortcomings. Benno and Mark make haste, when they realize that the temple expects Mine's monetary donation immediately. At the temple, Benno and the high priest discuss about Mine's studio, her health and lack of common knowledge regarding temple life and nobility. After coming to an agreement, Mine collapses. Mine and Fran makes amends and earns trust from each other, while Delia reports to the high bishop, and Gil blames Mine for the situation he is in. Episode 17. Needs. Mine is accompanied by Lutz to the temple to teach her retainers on how to look after Mine. Mine introduces Lutz to her retainers. Lutz gets in a fight with Gil when the latter nearly injures Mine. Gil's frustration stems from Mine not being able to provide for Gil's basic needs of food, shelter and clothing. Mine was given the orphanage director's office to use as her quarters, when she points out to the high priest she does not have a place to change her clothes. She then assigns Gil to clean it, so she can fairly evaluate him. Mine tells Gil, if he is willing to work, she shall provide Gil with food, shelter and clothing. Motivated, Gil cleans up the top floor. Mine praised Gil for this and earns his trust. Mine and Lutz takes Fran and Gil out to the city for lunch, wearing commoner outfits that Mine gifted them. They also went to see Benno to tell him about the oven in the orphanage director's office, much to Benno's delight. Benno brings Hugo the cook, and his assistant Ella, at the orphanage director's office, to learn Mine's recipes for the Italian restaurant. Afterwards they ate the meal served to them. Benno was impressed with the taste. After their meal, Mine calls for Fran, and gives the alms of gods for the orphanage. Delia angrily speaks to Mine, blames her for getting kicked out by the high bishop. Delia begs Mine not to send her back at the orphanage when she realizes she is not needed. Mine accepts Delia's sincere promise. Delia devotes in serving Mine as a retainer. Episode 18. Orphanage Reforms. The episode starts with Fran leaving for the orphanage to deliver the alms of gods. Mine collapses from shock after seeing starving unbaptized orphans, locked in the basement, when she accompanies Gil to the orphanage. Mine is unable to enjoy her time reading a book after her meeting with the high priest regarding the unbaptized orphans. With Lutz's advice, Benno's, Fran's, and Gil's assistance, Mine formulates a plan to help the orphans. Mine has a meeting with the high priest in his hidden room. The high priest advised Mine to remember individuals, those close to the high bishop, that she needs to be cautious. After finding out why Mine wants to help the orphans, he appoints Mine as the orphanage director. Mine learns the high priest did not grow up at the temple. Delia expressed her desire to help as well. Mine and her retainers visits and starts helping the orphans. Episode 19. Cleanups and Star Festivals. The orphanage rehabilitation starts, with Mine's retainers heading the cleanup. This is in guise for when Mine visits the orphanage as the new director. On the day of the visit, while assisting Mine, Delia recalls the day she was taken to the High Bishop's chambers from the orphanage basement. Mine, saddened by this, promised Delia to be there when she needs help in the future. At the orphanage, Mine introduces herself, offers prayers and gives rewards to those who performed well and showed initiative. She also gave the same pep talk she gave Gil. To show her gratitude for her retainers, Mine gifts Fran a diptych, to use when taking notes on the go. She then gives both Delia and Gil, slate and slate pencils to learn to read and write. Mine also made Karuta educational playing cards, for the orphans, with Wilma, a gray-robed priestess drawings. Benno liked the Karuta cards, and purchased the rights to sell them. With Gunther, Tuli, and Lut's supervision, the orphans went to the forest, and learned to gather food to eat, and collect materials, for the paper-making workshop that Mine will open at the orphanage. Ella and Tuli taught orphans how to prepare their food and cook. The Star Festival, or what the temple people know as the Star Binding Ceremony, will be celebrated in a few days, and Mine was tasked to keep the children in check. Mine gets permission, with conditions, from the High Priest, for the orphans to celebrate the Star Festival. Everyone made preparations for the festival. Mine and Lutz went to the plaza, to see the festivities, while the orphans have their lunch. While giving reminders to the orphans and distributing the Tao fruit. A Tao fruit sucked up Mine's mana and changed to a trombe seed when she touched it. Lutz and the older children at the orphanage chopped the trombe, and was able to gather paper-making materials. Mine fell sick but was happy the orphans had a great time. On her return, Mine was sent to the repentance room by the high priest, when he found dug-up soil and broken tiles, after the orphans played during the Star Festival. The episode ends with Mine collapsed on the repentance room from her fever, and the high priest regretting his actions. Episode 20. The path ahead of Lutz. Lutz and his father was having an argument, which resulted to Lutz running away from home. Ralph goes and asks Mine for help. When Mine is well enough, she visits Benno, and finds out, everyone at the Gilberta company is a bit on the edge, due to Lutz's family causing a commotion there. The head priest notices that Mine is unable to concentrate. He prompts Mine to his secret room, telling her, the calculator needs fixing. Mine then tells the head priest about Lutz's situation. After pondering for a while, the head priest tells Mine he needs to hear from Lutz's parents as well, and summons them to the temple. On the meeting day, Lutz, his parents, Mine, Benno and Mark were present. Prior to the meeting, Mine was given a magical device by the head priest that would only enable its bearer to hear and talk to one another. Lutz states no one in his family acknowledges his efforts and his parents not consenting him to travel with Benno to another town for work. We learn that Benno plans to adapt Lutz as his successor. With further probing, we learn that Lutz's parents actually supports and acknowledges his efforts, even though they were against his choice of becoming a merchant. That, as a parent, they only wanted the best for him, they want him to be safe and not regretting anything. Benno then decides to still raise Lutz as his successor, but instead of adopting him, he would like to sign a Lahurl contract with Lutz, to which Lutz's parents agreed. Lutz and his father Dade apologized for the inconvenience. Lutz reunites with his brothers at the gate, while Mine cries with tears of joy, on the outcome of the meeting. The episode ends with Mine finding out the high priest's name is Ferdinand. Episode 21. New retainers. At home, Mine learns from Effa that she will be a big sister. Excited with the prospect, Mine vows to make picture books for the baby. With the high priest recommendation, Mine decided to take on 2 new retainers, both of which were retainers of a blue-robed priestess named Christine, who loved art. Though she initially only wanted to have Wilma for her drawing skills, Mine was tasked to learn music, hence taking on Rosina as well. The high priest gifts Mine an adult and child versions of the Haarspiel to use. Friction came about a day after Mine took on Rosina. Mine has a meeting with her retainers. Mine gives Rosina the ultimatum: if she wants to serve under her, she needs to share the workload of Mine's other retainers, or to return to the orphanage. Rosina decides to stay. Mine successfully plays a song using the Haarspiel for Ferdinand. Mine later on discovers that Wilma is uncomfortable around men, due to a past traumatic experience. Episode 22. Wilma and Holy Scriptures for Kids. Mine is a bit at lost on what picture book to create, but later on settles to make a children's version of the Temple Scriptures. Mine meets Ingo the carpenter. She orders her wood block for her book-making process from Ingo's workshop. Mine decides to make her own ink when she realizes how expensive the venture of using the ink currently available. She decided to use soot. Mine and Lutz collected soot. Otto, Gil, Fran, and the other Grey Priest also helped collect soot. Mine and Lutz then experimented in mixing soot with oil. When they found the right consistency, Mine has tasked Wilma to draw the scripture images of the gods and goddesses. On their first printing try, using the wood block technique, the pictures looked blurry and the letters were hard to read. Meanwhile, Wilma has a panic attack when she recalled memories of the past, those memories that caused her to fear men. Mine finds this out when the orphans asked for her help. The head priest speaks to Mine in his secret room. He asked Mine how could she read complex writings of the temple scriptures, and simplified it for the picture book. Mine answered from a dream, a world she could never go back to. Wilma finishes the new drawings using the sample Mine gave her as basis. Wilma, finding a bit of courage, asked Mine's permission to see her drawings printed, even if she comes across men working in the printing studio. Wilma cried tears of joy when she saw her drawings printed in paper. With the help of Wilma, the other Grey Priest, the orphans, Lutz and Thule, Mine's first book, a picture book, is finally complete. Episode 23. Harvest Festivals and Staying Home. The episode starts with the High Bishop and a blue-robed priest plotting something. Mine was on her way to the temple library accompanied by Fran when she notices a couple of carriages. Fran says it is for the Harvest Festival and provides some explanation. Mine receives some snide remarks when a blue-robed priest overhears them. This was the same blue-robed priest that had a meeting with the High Bishop. Mine steps aside, and both she and Fran bows as the blue-robed priest pass. At the library, Mine was livid at the state of the library. Fran takes Mine to the high priest, where Mine vents her anger. But later becomes elated with the prospect of her being able to sort out and classify the library books to her preference, just like a librarian. Together with her retainers and some gray-robed priest, they cleaned and organized the library. The high priest visits the library. He and Mine have a meeting in his secret room about how she classified the books. Mine also asked about the magic books, and gets disappointed when she is denied access. The high priest states that magic is only for nobles who graduate from the Royal Academy. Mine and Lutz visits Benno and gives him a copy of the picture book they made. Benno and Mine have a bit of a heated discussion when Benno wants to sell them while Mine refuses. Later they talk about Mine needing capital for stencils, and metal plates for printing. Mine thinks of making and selling playing cards for her capital. She then visits Karina for her ceremonial robes. At the temple, the high priest informs Mine that she has to stay at the temple during winter for the dedication ceremony. Episode 24. Night Orders and Requests. The head priest tells Mine that her family can visit over the winter to check on her. Mine tells Lutz what the head priest told her and gives Mine some advice. Mine's family, especially Gunther, disapproves of Mine staying at the temple over the winter. After Mine's explanation, the family eventually agrees and assist on helping the orphanage prepare for winter. While making plans for her next picture book, Fran informs Mine that she needs to prepare for when the Knight's Order ask for the temple's assistance in performing rituals. The day finally arrived. The high priest received a message that the Knight's Order requires immediate assistance. Mine meets the high priest at the noble's gates, wearing her new ceremonial robes, with her Mine's studio insignia. The high priest explains he will participate as a knight and gives Mine a ring. When the gates open, there were knights waiting, and the high priest was greeted as Lord Ferdinand by the Knight's Order captain, Karstedt. Ferdinand introduces Mine. Afterwards they took flight on their magical beast, From there Mine saw a massive rampaging tree. Ferdinand explained that it is a trombe. Ferdinand tells Mine her duties will be after they have eliminated the trombe. Mine is given 2 guard knights Damiel and Shikza. Ferdinand instructs them to ensure Mine does not get injured, even a scratch. Mine unintentionally gives Ferdinand, and the knights going to battle, a blessing when she prayed for them. To the surprise of the knights. As Mine watched them flew to battle, Shikza mocks Mine's prayer. Episode 25. Trombe and Battles. Shikza continued to mock Mine's prayers, as useless. But the other guard knight Damiel comforts her. He also explains to Mine what is happening. When Mine saw the knight's weapons change color to black. Shikza continues with his verbal assaults. Damiel tries to stop him, but Shikza tells him to know his place. Shikza then attempts to teach Mine a lesson by threatening to cut her eyes out. Mine tries to call for help, and in the process gets a cut by Shikza, causing her to bleed. As soon as her blood drips on the ground, a trombe grows and wraps itself around Mine. Lutz and Ferdinand heard Mine's call for help. Damiel tries to free Mine. Ferdinand arrives, and closes Mine's wounds. The rest of the knights descend. Ferdinand orders them to chop down the trombe, ensuring not to harm Mine. While Damiel carefully frees Mine, Karstedt asked him, what happened. Apparently it was the first time he saw Ferdinand that irate. Once Mine is freed, and recovered, Ferdinand and Karlstedt asked what happened, to which Mine, Shikza and Damiel gave their answers. Ferdinand, having heard of Damiel a lay noble, unable to defy Shikza's order, who was a mednoble, and Shikza still being smug about his noble status, gets reprimanded by Ferdinand. Ferdinand reminded them that he gave an order, and as the highest ranking noble among them, Shikza should have known his place. He also reprimands the rest of the knights and tells Karstedt he should retrain his knights. They flew towards the area where the trombe fell. Ferdinand tells Mine this is her time to show the knights why she wears the blue robe. Episode 26. Dreamlike World. Ferdinand, Mine, and all the knights arrive at the trombe-ravaged area. Ferdinand calls for Shikza, and orders him to show Mine how to heal, and replenish the area. Shikza steps forward, and tries, but was not able to do much before he runs out of mana. Ferdinand mocks and dismisses him, and call for Mine to step in. Mine closes her eyes, as she chants her prayer. Instantly Mine's mana capacity manifest. Ferdinand watched, as Karstedt and his knights were astonished, on what they are witnessing. Ferdinand had to stop Mine as she successfully healed, and replenished the area, in a short time with little effort, truly shocking the entire Knights Order. Ferdinand reiterates to the knights present, the reason why Mine was granted blue robes by their ruler, Lord Ehrenfest. Ferdinand also declares that Mine is under his protection. On their way to the noble's gate, Ferdinand apologizes to Mine for exposing her to such hate and malice. Mine tells him, he does not have to feel responsible for the action of others. Upon landing, Ferdinand with Karstedt, asked Mine if she has any demands, to which she asks for a new set of ceremonial robes to be ordered at the Gilberta Company, since hers were now damaged. She also speaks in favor of Damiel, as he tried to help her. Mine had a fever following the recent events. Mine soon returns to the temple. Upon her arrival, Ferdinand and Mine entered his secret room to talk. We see the opening scene from episode 1, where Ferdinand gives a drink, and gives a magical item to Mine. Mine commented, the drink tasted sweet. Ferdinand was intrigued by this. After putting on the magical item, Mine fell asleep. Ferdinand then wears an identical magical item and looks at her memories, curious about Mine, her abnormal behaviors, especially her love for books. Their minds link. He sees Mine's past life in Japan. He confirms with Mine if this was the dreamlike world she spoke of before, and she said yes and tells him how she died, in her past life. Mine hurriedly went to her favorite place, the library. Ferdinand was surprised at what he is seeing. Next he sees Mine's interaction with her mother at their home. Flooded with feelings of regret, for not being able to say how she appreciates, and love her mother, nor having the chance to say goodbye. Mine becomes too emotional. Ferdinand had to cancel their link. He was overwhelmed with emotions he was feeling, due to the mind link with Mine. They return to the present, Ferdinand obviously affected and drained. Mine still emotional hugs Ferdinand tightly to comfort him, and herself. Ferdinand hugs her in return. When Mine has calmed down, she thanks Ferdinand and asks to use the mind link again to go back to Japan, to show him around. Ferdinand refuses and takes the magical item back by tricking Mine. Later Ferdinand meets with Karstedt, and returns the magical items. He tells him the result of the mind link. Convinced that Mine will be of value to Ehrenfest's future, Ferdinand asks Karstedt to adopt Mine, stating she would need someone powerful, to protect her. Back home, Mine thanks each members of her family for being there for her. She also internally thanks her mother back in Japan. The season ends with Mine being scolded by Benno. Mine, and let's walk towards the temple talking about the next book they'll be making. In the temple.
That was exquisite.
End of Season 2. Few more days and we can continue watching Mine's story. I hope you enjoyed watching my recap. You can watch all the previous episodes from the link at the description. Do look forward for my next upload. Also, please check out my other videos, and don't forget to click like and subscribe to my channel. I would also like to hear from you, so drop me a message on our community and comments section. Till next time. Bye bye. Disclaimer. I do not own or claim any ownership rights over any of the graphics, images, songs used in this video. All rights reserved to the respective copyright owners.